You don't want to release toxins too fast. Women who undergo rapid fat loss have a higher degree of ovarian and breast cancer and colon cancer because of what's being squirted out of those fat cells over a short period of time that took them decades to accumulate, overwhelm the body's ability to manage and get it out of the system. So the strategies we're talking about, you're probably not going to be able to buy on Amazon. I mean, you may, but you really want to do these with a physician. Am I right about that?
Exactly. Always. Absolutely.
Okay, so
and someone who's familiar with using detox pathways. Now, keep in mind that all of this is about, and you don't want to do any kind of detox, any kind of program without first settling down the immune response. That's always my first goal. I want to make sure that I'm not giving your system, because if I'm suddenly putting into your bloodstream toxic chemicals that have been present forever, you're not going to feel well. It's one of the reasons why people feel terrible when they first start losing weight, because weight loss is one of the methods we can use for detoxification. I think it's one of the probably healthier ways for us to do detoxification. If you're doing it on a slow paced rate under the supervision of a dietitian or a provider, if you're losing, the goal somewhere between 1 and 2 pounds per week. And the reason for that is we know that patients who do it faster than that have way more inflammation. They feel worse. So almost all the time when I'm treating my own patients, I'm going to start by attacking their inflammation first. You've heard me talk about that before on a couple shows we've done, but I'm always going to address their inflammation first. I'm going to get their monocytes to stop being that henny penny and go down to being the janitor, so that if your cells are functioning optimally, they're burning fat, or they can flip back and forth between burning fat and burning sugar. And then those cells are going to naturally detoxify themselves. They go through a process called autophagy, which is where you, I'm sure you've talked about this on your show, where you take a minute, a break, take a rest for the cell, allow the cell to clean itself up, to take the trash out through the trash bags that we call the lysosomes. Those lysosomes then dump into a bigger trash can called the autophagosome. And that autophagosome then is cleared by the immune system. If that immune system is heightened in its response, in its phenotypic expression, it's very heightened, it's only going to continue to increase this auto amplification of inflammation by getting those toxins into the lysosomes and autophagosomes. If instead your cell is functioning very optimally and cleaning things out as it should be, and your immune system is calm, this will merely be dumped into the bloodstream, picked up by your immune system, dumped into the stool for processing, and exactly how we want it to. So first, I'm going to decrease the inflammation. Second, I'm going to improve the efficiency of all the cells, the liver cells, the immune cells, and then I'm going to talk about maybe contributing to some sort of detox if they still need it.
So this is a very important discussion right now, because the best way to detox is to lose body fat at a sensible, and you just said that, I'm reiterating it because it's critical. And the reason for that is, would I be overstating that 90% of the bad actors that we consider toxins that we really want out of our body are stored in fat cells?
Or yes.
Okay.
Usually.
So unless you are forcing the fat cell to excrete the toxin in a managed way, as you point out, so that the body doesn't become overwhelmed, you don't have an overreaction by the immune system through inflammation. The reality is nobody dies from COVID. They die from the immune system's response to COVID.
Right.
The overproduction of cytokines that destroy the lungs, and that's what you die from. So controlling the army of the immune system, which is inflammation, and saying, hey, we know what's going on, stand down, no need to start attacking stuff. We're going to get this stuff out of here quick. But doing fat loss is the #1 way to detox your body. Now, this is right now, there's a bunch of people going, oh, forget it. I thought you were going to tell me about a magic pill or a soup or a foot bath. I'm sorry. That stuff doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's the sucker is born every minute reason that I'm doing this show. But fat loss is tantamount. It's most important in order to get rid of the toxins that you've accumulated over the past 10, 20 years.
And I think what we have to realize is those things cause stress on the cell. So the energy generators in the cell can have more difficulty creating energy and packets of energy. And instead of creating water like they're supposed to, they begin they begin to create these reactive oxygen species that sort of act like not ping pong balls. What's that? Pinballs. And they ping around and they start damaging your DNA and damaging your proteins. And then you end up with too much trash for the cell to handle and not enough energy sources left for the cell to do whatever its job originally was supposed to be. And that's where we end up with trouble. The other place where we'll see these toxins hide is not only in the fat cells, but actually in the cell wall itself, either attached to receptors like the xenoestrogens attaching to estrogen receptors, or interspaced into the between the arms of the fats that are along the cell wall. They'll find themselves interspacing there. So you'll also see it in cell walls. So when cells die, we also will see a release of that. And so we want to be careful to protect our cells. So again, what I would go back to is, let's start by decreasing inflammation, but let's also look at improving the cell's ability to go through autophagy. So if we're looking for simple ways to allow the cell to do its own cleanup, we can do that with things like, as you mentioned, you mentioned a minute ago about doing fat loss, about calorie restriction, about intermittent fasting, exercise. All of these can help your cells to begin to improve their ability to go through autophagy, to increase their production of antioxidants. So you're decreasing that load of reactive oxygen species, and now the cell is better able to handle itself. So you can add things like ketone esters, for example, which also are going to upregulate the production of NADPH, which is your master recycler. It's the big recycler that takes all those spent antioxidants and regenerates their ability to function. So not only is it its own fuel source to help that limping along cell to do its job in the meantime while you're helping it clean up, but it also provides the opportunity for the cell to recover by giving it that NADPH, the master recycler, to recycle all of your antioxidants. So you don't have to take glutathione if you're giving it this exogenous source. And you can create that either with intermittent fasting, with calorie restriction, or with exogenous ketone ingestion. So that would be one way. And that's something that you can get over the counter. I would, of course, still discuss this with your physician, but that's a really good option for a lot of people to consider. And for you to have a discussion with your doctor about. I would say another way for us to improve our ability to go through autophagy, we've talked about on this show so many times about rapamycin. This is a terrific way for you to do that. Of course, it requires a prescription and it does require a physician's supervision, but rapamycin is a good way on depending on how much autophagy you need. So someone with ALS may need more autophagy. Someone with that's generally healthy, that's just looking for a maintenance program, may need less. And so those are things that you could use on a regular basis to improve the cell's ability to clean itself up. You could certainly do something like spermidine. Spermidine is one of the natural ways that our body is able to go through detoxification through that autophagy process. And spermidine is available also over the counter. So I would encourage you also to use your physician's guidance, but this is a really good way for you to go through improving the cell's efficiency. there are several other things that you can do. I can't ignore the importance right now in my practice. What I see so much is this is the detoxification from technology. And as I'm sitting here on this show, I do want you to be aware that as much as I want you to listen to this show, I also want you to be aware of your susceptibility to all the television and the hype and the, I mean, it's so much right now. I can't tell you how often right now I prescribe, for you to stop watching the news.
Yeah.
So that's a detox alone.